Welcome into another Ranting Cast. This is episode 9. I am Frank Curry. I'm joined today by Melissa Boyd of the Hockey Writers. She's been with them for you said just about over 2 years now. You're coming up, at least coming up on that. So just to start, get into it right away. What do you do with the Hockey Writers?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. It's great to be here. Always love talking hockey. I am based in Montreal, actually. So I cover the Habs for the Hockey Writers. And yeah, like you said, I've been there for just over 2 years now. And I also am the social media and marketing manager for the Hockey Writers. So I wear a few hats, but it's been a lot of fun, and it allows me to, uh, you know, to work in my passion. So there's nothing better than that.
All right. Yeah. I mean, we've had a couple people on from the Hockey Writers already last couple weeks, so it's been fun to chat with you guys there. And so I mean, you're based in Montreal, so I guess let's start with what's going on with the Habs. I mean, they just hired Marty St. Louis as
Yep.
their head coach full time now. What's
Yep.
the reaction so far from that?
Oh, it's been overwhelmingly positive. Obviously, he made a great first impression when he was brought on as the interim head coach at the about midway at the
Mhm.
midway point last season. He's obviously he's a great. I mean, he's a legend of the game
Yeah.
for starters, which helps a lot in a market like this to have a name, especially behind the bench. But like he didn't have any coaching experience, as everybody knows. He was coaching his sons in like bantam
Mhm.
hockey, which is a pretty so the NHL is a huge step up, but it's been amazing how well he was prepared for the opportunity and sort of just the fresh approach that he brought. And the leader, like, he's a tremendous leader. We saw that when he was and he's helped the team's young players really grow and develop, especially like it's well known Cole Caulfield became a different player when
Yeah.
he was hired. So it's exciting for the fans, and because it's really a new direction, it's fresh, it's more modern, it's you hear him talk like his I don't know if you've ever watched one of his press conferences, but like they're like must see TV every night. It's amazing. Like the stuff he comes out with, and you're like, wow, this guy is so smart. And so, he just, yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, with guys like that, and San Luis hasn't been out of the game for that
No.
long. It feels like it almost feels like it's been forever since he retired, but really, I don't think it has been. Um, I want to say it's been like what 6 years.
Yeah, something like that. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking also,
I
something
mean,
like that.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely it hasn't been that long. He hasn't been that long out of the
Yep.
NHL, and him the way he thinks the game. It's you know that okay, he thinks the game so forward, so high energy, high octane, just because that's how he played. But also, he knows what it takes. He knows the hardest roads to get there since he was an undrafted guy and really had to work extra hard, more harder than most players just to get to the league in the first place. So yeah, I mean, a
Absolutely.
guy like that I think makes a ton of sense as a head coach, and it's really just a matter of yeah, you saw a lot of positives out of him this season, but I mean, with how down they were, the only place they really could go was up. So of
Yeah.
course there was gonna be be a bit of a positive jump this year, at least this year for Montreal. But now it's what they do in the summer. They're like very, very likely going to take Shane Wright first
Mhm.
overall, and now it's okay. Now we're going to see what Marty St. Louis
Yeah.
is as a head coach. So now this is what really is exciting. At least for Montreal, it should be exciting for them. And I'm curious about it too. I mean, I love Shane Wright. I love him a lot. I think he's easily the number one overall pick. First off, I don't know how high of a ceiling he has personally, just because I think there's other guys who could be very in that range with him. Whereas you look at last year, I think last year was like it's Shane Wright and everybody else.
Mm,
But what can you do there? You also have Nick Suzuki that you're building around. You
yeah.
have Cole Caulfield as well. You mentioned him. They got some. Montreal's got interesting pieces. So what they're going to be like next season is going to be fascinating, at least, and obviously too with we'll see if Carey Price is playing as well.
Yeah, that's the big question mark, and it'll be interesting too because they're gonna start building kind of a new team, right? A new,
Yeah,
so it'll be interesting how they build a team to suit, how Marty wants them to play.
yeah,
So a lot of speed, I think, a lot of skill, guys that are able to play up tempo.
yep.
So yeah, I think you're right about Shane Wright. I know there's big debates going on, about is he really the number one? But I think in terms of fit for Montreal, I think he's the guy. Like you said, I think to be able to have Suzuki and Shane Wright as your top two centers,
That's
it's pretty great. So can't
yeah.
ask for a whole lot better. So you're right.
That,
I'm not sure if he has the highest ceiling in the draft, but I think it's well known that he has the highest floor in the draft.
mhm.
So it's one of those like you can't really miss on it. It's kind of like a sure thing. So we'll see. But I agree. I think they will take Shane Wright.
Yeah, I mean, you never pass up on the center like that. Especially, I
Yep.
think Wright does have the highest ceiling. I'm more thinking that there's other guys who are going to have as much of a high ceiling
Absolutely.
as
Yeah.
Wright does. Obviously, Slavovsky, I believe is his name, is the
Yep.
guy projected to go second to New
Yep.
Jersey. That's another guy, but he's a winger. So it's like, do you take the center or the winger? I take the center every day.
Right.
Matthew Savoy is a guy who I really like, and
Hmm.
I think he's gonna go top 5 personally. That's another guy I think, really, really high ceiling.
Yep.
No, with Wright, it's more of he's got the tools. I think he needs to show more of it. But if he's with a guy like Marty saying the we next year,
Exactly.
that might be a match made in heaven. You never know.
And
And
he's exactly from what I know, what I've learned about Shane Wright is like he's exactly the type of player that Marty likes. Like
mhm,
very intelligent, very, passionate and stuff like that. So I think they're gonna be, like you said, I think they're gonna be a match made in heaven. And I think it's the draft this year is a bit like, the Taylor Hall, Tyler Seguin debate, or, even like, Sidney Crosby or Alex Ovechkin. I mean, at the end
mhm.
of the day, I think whether both teams are going to be happy. So it's just a matter of preference, I think, and fit. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
Wright's going to be a really nice fit with Montreal. Him and Suzuki as the 1-2
Yeah.
at center core next 10 years potentially. I mean,
Yep.
you cannot pass that up. You really can't.
Exactly.
That's too good. So obviously, Montreal, first overall pick, and we'll see what happens with Carey Price. As I said earlier, they got
Hmm.
a bunch of interesting prospects, but playoffs are still going on right now. What have you thought about the playoffs as a whole so far?
Wow, they're it's crazy the goal scoring. Like obviously I know like there's some high powered offensive teams in the
Mhm.
playoffs. So it's not shocking, but I mean, man, it's just like end to end action, especially out west.
Oh,
The Battle of Alberta was so good, and
mhm.
too bad it only lasted 5 games. And obviously we had such high expectations for the Western Conference Final, and man, did it deliver last night. Like that's just two really really good teams going at it. Well, maybe not goaltenders, but anyway, it's just
Yeah,
it's fun to see. Like that's the kind of hockey everybody loves. This, and like the stars are shining, and that's really great too. I think for the game and for the NHL is that the star players are really, take like Connor McDavid, Nate McKinnon, Cale Makar,
mhm.
Chris Kreider. It's great for the NHL, I think.
Yeah, and we got Tampa and New York going on
Yeah.
right now in game one. You just mentioned Kreider, he just scored, and then Stamkos answered right back for
S-
Tampa as well. So
Yep.
1-1 game right there in game one, which is kind of what kind of expected. These games are gonna be really tight. But
Yep.
yeah, out west, I mean, it's all just wide open, offense galore, no goaltending. As a goalie, I kind of shudder at that, but at the same time, as a hockey fan, I love it. I want more goals. But I'm a goalie, and I'm like, I want good goaltending. But man,
Oh,
it's interesting, really. We got obviously there's a lot of controversy from game
yeah.
one with the whole offside
Mhm.
thing with Kale McCarr. I personally thought the NHL made the right call, and that was
Mhm.
a good goal. What did you think of that?
I did too. I mean, it's written in the rules, like, it's and it they did make the right call. I think obviously, I think more it's more like the whole offside challenging that is a
Yeah,
question mark this morning or today, like, should we really be allowed to challenge offsides? Which
it's
I
always been a question mark.
which I kind of, agree because really, if they couldn't challenge last night that play, nobody would have batted an eye. You know what I mean? Everyone was like, "Oh, that would
Mhm.
have been like, oh, that's a great goal," and we move on. But that because they were allowed to challenge and we were able to see those replays, and you're like, "Oh my god!" And wait, was it a goal? No, wasn't it a goal? So,
Yeah,
uh,
and a lot of people probably even in real time think that probably should have been offside. But I mean, you look at it, and then I guess the whole thing is, possess is it's all about the possession part of it,
y-
and the one of the replays that shows McCarr's face, from the goal line,
mm,
just clearly shows he doesn't have the
mhm,
puck
yep,
when Nichushkin is on the blue line.
yep,
So and then he's still and McCarr's still on the blue line too.
yep,
So I was like, that's yeah. He doesn't if he doesn't have possession, then how's that offside?
yep,
There's no delayed offside. There's no delayed call because the ref's arm isn't up.
right.
So I don't get it. I don't get the whole controversy
I
from it. I guess it's just from the one blue line angle that kind of shows the puck is
yeah,
on McCarr's stick, but
yeah,
when you look at the other angle, it's like an inch off. So
yeah.
I don't know.
So, yeah,
I don't.
I think it was just, one of those things where you take a step back and you look at it
Mhm.
and go, "Yeah, no, that's offside."
Yeah,
Or
I
not offside, sorry.
mhm.
And like, I think it's just I think it was, everybody's and of course, like, Edmonton fans and the Edmonton side is gonna be like, "That's such an obvious offside, look," and
Oh, I
but,
mean, of course, it's to be
they're applying the rule book, which is why the rule book is there. So should the rule book be rewritten, maybe reworded to be more clear, maybe, but it's in the rules. So yeah.
I just think you should just get rid of the offside challenge to
Yeah,
begin with. I've hated it
I
from the
agree.
start. I
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
it's a judgment call. It really is.
Yep.
Especially those ones that are really close, that are just super super close. I mean, why are you going back to look at it when
In
and it's
this
going to
like
take you like 10 minutes just to figure it out?
exactly. In this slow-mo like frame by frame thing, like
Yeah.
it, you know,
I
like I
mean,
agree. Yeah.
we saw the ones with the I think it was the Lightning Panthers series, when the puck hit the netting. And that
Yes,
that
right.
review took
Yes.
like 15 minutes, and it's like, are you really cool with doing that constantly?
Yep.
Especially, and you only really
Yep.
see, you don't see it with the puck hitting the net, but we see it with offside, and you see the challenge takes
Yep.
half that time, and even then, that I can't stand it. Just if the ref rules it offside, offside.
Yep.
If ref says onside, it's onside.
Yep.
Whatever. And it's like if it's the
Because
right,
right, they didn't call it offside, right? They didn't
yeah, no, they
initially
ruled the play
didn't they
onside.
ruled the play onside initially. And
Yeah,
so I agree. It's just like things happen in a game, and like I know everyone likes to complain about the officiating, and rightfully so sometimes, but I mean
yeah,
it's let them do their job. And it just feels like now that the video replay has been implemented, it just feels like every time something happens, there they are on their on the iPad going, can we challenge this for something? So
but
it just kind of takes away, I think, a bit of the flow of the game. And then it
yeah,
puts, I think, too much spotlight on the referees, because they already have enough. And I just think it puts the game in their hands more, and I don't really like that. So
more so than it should.
yeah,
That's I yeah,
yeah,
I can't stand it really. They make the just I know we rag on them all the time, but I do feel like in this, at least in this particular case, They got it right.
Yep.
I'll give them that. And they
Yep.
had it right the first time too.
They did have it there. Yep.
So I'll give them that. I mean,
For
they make
sure.
boneheaded calls all the time, but it's like whatever, honestly. One of the other topics that was being discussed too was the playoff format, and the easy answer is, should it be changed? Yes, obviously. It stinks.
It
No
does.
one really likes it that much. The only
Yep.
people who like it is Gary Bettman and his cronies and the board of governors. Like,
Yep.
they're the only ones who like it
Yeah.
because of rivalries. Well, guess what? Why do you need these high-powered rivalries in the first round? Why can't they be in the second round or even the conference finals? Like, you can have it both ways, and let's be real. It should just be 1-8. Division winner, 2 divisions each conference, fine. I don't care. Top two division winners, top 2 seeds, 3-8 are the next best teams. That's it.
Because I find that the reward for finishing higher isn't enough. So, again, we, it was, I think, ignited by the fact that Toronto and Tampa played each other in the first round. Like, it's not really, like Toronto finished second in their division and Tampa finished third, and they had, it's like, it doesn't make sense. Like that they have to play each other in the first round. Like, it's not fair to me. So basically you're putting in all that effort for 82 games, and that's your reward at the end, which isn't, to me.
Not only that, Toronto was 4th overall in the league.
Right.
And they had to face the 8th overall team in the league in Tampa. And it's, I don't get it.
Because, all 8 teams in the Eastern Conference had over 100 points.
So it's not like no one was missing out, really. I mean, if you think about it, wouldn't you rather have had Florida-Washington would have still been a first round series, no matter what.
Yep.
Carolina would have ended up playing Pittsburgh.
That'd
have been a fun series.
Fun, yeah.
Toronto would have ended up playing Boston,
which would have
been awesome.
Would have been unreal.
And guess what? Your conference final matchup right now would have been in the first round, Rangers Lightning.
Yeah.
Like, and it would have been Rangers would have held Meister anyway. And it's like,
yeah.
Out west, I'm looking at the West right now. It still would have been Colorado, Nashville. Still would have been Calgary, Dallas, because Calgary jumps Minnesota for the second, because Minnesota actually had more points than Calgary this year. Minnesota would have ended up playing LA, and you would have had St. Louis, Edmonton. Like, good series.
But it's also more balanced. Like, it feels more balanced, right?
It does. It feels a lot more balanced. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it. Understand that change. I never did. Like, nobody was complaining about that change, about the playoff format. So I don't, Yeah,
I don't understand.
It's an odd decision.
Yeah, odd decision they made.
Wonder what it would take to put it back, but
I'm
not sure. I guess, like you said, it would have to come from the owners, and
whenever the next CBA is.
Yeah.
Discussions are, which I think's not going to be for another few years.
Yeah, a few years, because I think they extended their CBA, right?
Yeah, I don't remember when that happened though.
Yeah,
I want to say it happened like
I remember thinking, like, when it happened, I remember thinking, okay, we won't have to worry about this for a long time, like something like 8 years or something like that.
Yeah, it was something. It was something like that.
So,
all right, we're gonna just take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll touch on more Stanley Cup playoffs, and then who do you think is gonna win each series. So we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the show. Dinosaur Barbecue and John and Mary is always the sponsors of the Ranting Cast each week. So Melissa Boyd with me from the Hockey Writers, and we've been talking about Montreal's future with Shane Wright, Marty St. Louis contract extension. He's now the head coach. A little bit of the playoffs, a little bit about how much we hate the playoff format, how much we hate offside challenge, how much we hate about the NHL, essentially. um, Besides all that, a little going back to the playoffs, like what have what has been the most exciting thing about the playoffs so far, at least in your eyes?
I think it's to me it's just being able to see all these incredibly skilled players, talented players just making crazy plays. Like it seems like every night, like we saw tonight even, Stamkos with a crazy shot, just and that's what he does best. And in the series against St. Louis, we saw that Colorado St. Louis, we saw that amazing goal, end-to-end goal from Nathan McKinnon, right? And to me it's just the lift you out of your seat moments that are happening, it seems, every night, and you're just like, wow. And it's actually even more fun when you don't have
Yeah.
a rooting interest, like, because you're just watching really good hockey and you're like, well, whoever wins, like, this is great. But for me, yeah, it just seems like highlight reel playoffs is what I would call it, I think.
Yeah, and in the East, we've seen a lot more goaltending taken over
Yeah.
than we've seen in the West. Even though, as great of a series Jake Ottinger had in the first round, it it's been overshadowed by how much offense there's been so far. And
Hmm.
we saw it in the Battle of Alberta. 9-6 was the first game in that one, and then it seemed like the over was just hitting every single game for that series. It's a shame that Battle of Alberta was a 5-game series.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
I found an interesting stat from that, at least from the time. I don't know how much different this was, but Jacob Markstrom had an 843 save percentage at 5-on-5 and a 775 high danger save
Wow.
percentage.
I
I
believe
don't
it though, I
Yeah,
do.
with how the series went, it's really
And
not surprising.
and
Um
and he was considered, like an X factor. Like
he's up for the
people
Vezina.
said he's gonna be the difference maker in this series, and
Yeah.
when you look at the goaltending matchup, Mike Smith versus Markstrom, you're like, yeah, Markstrom's got the edge, no doubt. And then wow, it just felt like every second shot he went in, and
Somehow Mike Smith was better. Mike Smith didn't even play better than Jacob Markstrom.
no.
Jacob Markstrom just lost it himself.
Yeah, it was just, yeah.
I'm looking at Mike Smith's numbers right now. 917 overall save percentage in the playoffs, 4.67 GSAX, which, the GSAX is good, but man,
He's
917 isn't bad, and that's overall. I'm gonna just double check his 5-on-5 numbers really quick.
and he's
I'm
been
not involved in hockey
pulled
right
in
now.
all 3 game ones, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
it's
No, well, not the first, not the
oh,
Kings one.
not the
Remember,
Kings one, right?
Remember that he blew
So
that.
yeah, that's right. He blew it at the end. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Uh,
With that
at,
ill-advised. um,
but yeah. So at 5-on-5, Mike Smith's save percentage is 913, as GSAX is negative 2.57. Ugh. So he's been good on the penalty kill, at least.
yeah.
So you give him credit there. But when it comes to goaltending, it's all the Tampa, New York, Shesterkin versus
Mhm.
Vasilevsky, and
Yeah.
now the Rangers have to go up against the number one goalie for the
Yeah,
first time in the
for the first
playoffs.
time in the playoffs, yeah.
Had when I was saying that to a couple of my friends on Sunday while Game 7 was going on, like, that just sounded crazy. That to me, just even saying that, like, the Rangers have to go up against the number one goalie for the first time in the playoffs. I'm thinking, like, that's insane to think.
Well,
What am I thinking?
you were asking me about like what has stood up for me. That's another thing that stood out to me. The number of goalie injuries, like, just
Yeah.
seems every night. It's like, oh my god, another one. Like, we're gonna end up with the e-bugs in the Stanley Cup final
Oh
or
my
something.
god. Oh my god. No,
It's just
we
the way
won't, because
we won't.
teams
But
are teams are carrying 3 goalies right
but
now.
it's just
But could you imagine?
But it just
Could
seems
you
like,
imagine? Oh my
even
god.
like Game 7 Carolina, like they lost Ranta, and
Yeah.
last night all 4 goalies were used, and
Yeah, Smith
Darcy
gets
Kemper's
pulled. Yeah.
injured, and oh geez, and
What
you're like,
what
what's going
do we
on?
do we know what his injury was? Was it related to his eye?
No, they said upper body, I believe, and Jared Bednar didn't want to confirm whether he was going to play tomorrow or not, but
Yeah, that's man.
they
I
yeah.
mean, I mean Kemper hasn't been great in the
No,
playoffs. I'm looking at his
I
5 on
agree.
5
He
numbers.
hasn't been great, no.
905 save percentage, negative 4.39 GSAX in the playoffs so far at 5 on 5. So not great. I mean, so Franco, I know they like Franco a lot. So
Yes, I like him a
hopefully
lot as well.
yeah, I
Well, for a backup, like
for a backup, yeah, I guess, seeing game one last night, the biggest thing I was just seeing was he did not look comfortable in the crease. I know he had to come in. Obviously, he wasn't warmed up and everything, but
Yep.
he was swimming in his crease a lot, and Edmonton obviously was able to get back into the game because of it. So
He started out well. He made some big
yeah,
saves
he had
when he
that
came
one
in.
huge save with his pad.
And then you thought, okay. And then, yeah, like you said, it kind of went downhill after that. And he was, yeah. So
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how he reacts to starting,
yeah,
assuming he does start game 2 tomorrow, and then Shesterkin versus Vasilevsky is all that's going to be talked about for Tampa and New York when it comes to the goalies. I mean, Shesterkin's been awesome. I mean, he had some struggles against Pittsburgh, but
yep.
got it done. I mean, 937 save percentage at 5 on 5, 13.82 GSAX,
Yeah, that's,
and Vasilevsky 943 save percentage, 6.36 GSAX at 5 on 5. You're looking at the two best goalies in the world right now
yep.
going up against
No
each
doubt
other.
about it. Yep.
Shesterkin's going
And
to win the Vezina, but I mean,
the funny thing
Vasilevsky,
is, they didn't start well. Their first round,
yeah,
you know, they showed a little bit of weakness, but since, they kind of escaped those two series, they've just been lights out. So yeah, I
yeah.
agree. It's best on best for sure.
It's that's going to be the best part about the Tampa New York series.
Yep.
So, got a couple minutes left. What do you think about each series? Who do you think's going to win?
Well, in the West, I had Colorado from the beginning winning the Stanley Cup.
Mhm.
Even from I think I picked them at the beginning of the season, so I'm gonna stick with that. I just think, top to bottom, they're the best team, and I think they're playing like it. I know last night's game was a bit crazy, but I think you saw they had, I think they had over 45 shots last night.
Mhm.
I just think they're a very well-oiled machine, and I think it's their time. Um, and I think ultimately, I think Tampa will win against the Rangers, even though I think it will be close. I think the Rangers are gonna push the Lightning, and you never know. Like you said, with the goalies, you never know. But I see a Tampa Colorado final, but I think Colorado's gonna finally dethrone them.
I think if there's any team that can beat Tampa, it's Colorado, just because of the speed.
Agreed.
Obviously, Edmonton has the speed too with McDavid and Drysdale. Well, McDavid really. Drysdale's playing on one leg, but is
Imagine
is
if he wasn't.
one player enough? And obviously, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think Tampa's going to win the series as well. I picked them in 6 games.
Mhm. Yep.
I think Colorado's going to win. I have Colorado in 7. I think
Yep.
this series is going to be
Yeah.
just incredibly fast, incredibly back and forth the whole way. But Colorado's definitely the more faster team than Edmonton is. I think that'll just ultimately give them the edge.
Yep.
But I do wonder if it's Edmonton assuming Tampa beats New York, whether they play Edmonton or Colorado, is Edmonton faster than Tampa? Well, Conrad David's faster than everybody, so I
Yeah.
guess that's it. But if
Yep.
Draisaitl's on one leg, that's going to hamper
Yep.
Tampa, or not hamper Edmonton a lot. But if it's Colorado's definitely faster
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
Tampa. So I kind of give the edge to Colorado in that, but
Yep.
it's the Lightning, and I will never doubt them until they lose.
I was gonna say
Never.
I'm betting against them at my own peril, because every time I think, oh, this is it, no, they come back. And I saw today that Braden Point is back on the ice and back practicing, so I wouldn't be surprised if he got back either in this series or if they advance. So there's another weapon that they'll have probably. So
If he's practicing now, I would imagine he's either playing Friday or Sunday.
Yeah, I
Definitely.
would think
There's no way
probably.
he's gonna stay out of the lineup for too long. I mean,
No.
it probably was killing him already that he didn't get to play the Florida series.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they still swept Florida.
Which is
So
yeah,
all that
right?
extra break was
So,
just
yeah,
good for point.
they
That's all they
swept
really
the
need.
President's Trophy winners without, like,
Uh,
their best forward, basically.
yeah, arguably their most
Arguably their best, you know.
their best forward. Yeah,
Uh,
it's insane.
Jeez.
All right, well, that's gonna do it for the ranting cast this week. Melissa, thank you for coming on. This was awesome. Hopefully, we'll try to have you on again, maybe closer to the
Definitely.
draft, and be able to talk more about what's going on there. Give the people your info, your Twitter handle, where you are in the Hockey Writers, what you're doing.
Yeah, so my Twitter handle is Boyd Mel, Boydmel, and yeah, please make sure more importantly, please make sure you're following us at the Hockey Writers. We're on all the platforms. We have YouTube recaps, game recaps every day. We're doing all kinds of stuff. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, Twitter. So please look up for us. Our team is pumping out content every day, and they're doing a great job. And make sure we have a draft guide as well. Frank was talking about the draft. We got a draft guide as well, so check that out. It's free. So I know a lot of draft guides out there aren't, so please check out ours. We got over 200 prospect profiles already, and a whole team doing that coverage. So please check that out. And yeah, it's great being on here. So thanks again for having me. And yeah, we'll have to do the same. We'll have to have you on one of our something we're doing too. So we'll do some
Yeah, definitely.
cross promoting.
Yeah, absolutely. You let me know. I just try to find a way to be free for these things. But so yeah, thank you for coming on. This was great. Yeah, as I said earlier, we'll definitely do this again sometime.
Great.
All right, that's gonna do it for the ranting cast this week. Maybe Ron will be back next week. Who knows? It's always up to him. It's always up to me. Whatever. It's all good. All right, we'll see you next week on the ranting cast.